Well, good day to you. It is in fact January the 20th, and wherever you are, whenever you happen to be listening to this video, whether it's on January the 20th or some other day, I hope you are doing well, you're staying safe and healthy and so forth, and all the good things to you. Now, if this is your first time ever listening to this channel, I do want to welcome you. My name is Gary Willing, and what we talk about here is we talk about the emergence of Maitreya and the Masters of Wisdom. Through these videos, we take a deeper look at who and what Maitreya is. We also take a deeper look at who and what he is not, or what people claim that he is really not. We also talk about why are the Masters returning now to the everyday world after so long living away from the public eye, and why are they coming back now? What does it mean? Now, we tie it into the current events of the time, which, for the most part, seem rather dire and hopeless, right? We have political chaos, political unrest, divisions, social unrest, economic divisions, economic uncertainty for so many people. Now you have to tie in the coronavirus into that. And of course, there's the elephant in the room that is nobody's really talking about as of lately because there's been so many other problems going on in the world, but the environment's still there and it's still in danger. And so we have to work at how are we going to solve that problem, right? Now, if you were to look at all those problems, right, of course, you're probably looking at it as there's not a lot of hope out there, right? I do want to say this before I get into it, is there's a reason why I named this channel Search for Signs, and I didn't realize it at the time, because originally my intention for doing Search for Signs was I wanted to talk about my personal experiences with Maitreya, kind of get that information out there, talk a little bit about the many miracle signs that have been going on over the decades and so forth. And that was about it. That was all I was going to talk about. And then over the last 2 years, it's kind of taken on a life of its own. We've talked about anything from politics to economics to Maitreya's priorities, which is more in line with what I want to talk about anyway. So over the last year or so, I've been kind of debating within myself, even talking over some friends of mine about changing the name of Search for Signs, because it didn't seem like it really fit what we were talking about. And after debating it back and forth, I kind of decided to keep the name, right? Now, I'm glad I did. Let me tell you why. It's because in the face of everything that's been going on, not only in the United States, but around the world and so forth, there's not a lot of hope for most people, right? But what if there is hope out there? And what if there's not only hope, there's actually evidence of hope? Now, I talk about Maitreya. We can call him the teacher. You can call him the Christ. You can call him the fifth Buddha, Maitreya Buddha. You can call him the Messiah. It doesn't matter. You know, he prefers to be called the teacher. But the teacher once said, those who search for signs will find them. That's the name, Search for Signs. Now, along with all these problems that humanity's facing on a daily basis that seem to be mounting and to a crisis point at this moment in time, there is evidence of hope because these miracle signs have been going on for decades. Now, there are miracles that are going on all over the world in all walks of life to religious and non-religious people. Within the religious groups, they're happening to every single religious group without exception. And like I said, people without faith. Now, they could be anything from the Norwegian spiral that appeared in the sky in December of 2009 to UFOs flying in the sky, crop patterns, healing waters, crosses of light, patterns of light, weeping icons, the Hindu milk miracle, other specific miracles for different religious groups and so forth, to even, which I think is probably the biggest and probably the most widely accepted miracle, are miracles that happen in people's lives, okay, that are actual real miracles. They might be saved from an accident. Surely they were going to die or be extremely injured, yet they walk away from the scene without a scratch. Or they were going through a difficult time and they meet a stranger who they see as an angel, maybe not a winged, creature. It could just look like a homeless person or just an ordinary person, but yet speaks to them in such a way that they feel more uplifted, more hopeful for the future and so forth. But by and large, and this is the important thing, that every single person that has had these miracles, I can't think of one in my own life that I know, and I know it's certainly not the case for me, or the case for me, has always been left with hope, always been more uplifted after this. So every time I've been saved from an accident, I always felt more hopeful for the future. I'd never been like, man, I wish they would just let me go right off that cliff. You know what I'm saying? So there's evidence of hope out there. Now, there's also people who will deny these miracles, but I'm here to tell you that I can guarantee you that they have never had a miracle themselves. So most of the time when they're denying it for somebody else, they're just jealous that it didn't happen to them. Okay? Even scientists who investigate these miracles, look at it under a microscope, deny these miracles because it's beyond their level of comprehension of science. So science is always evolving. Thankfully, it's not the end all and be all of life and science of, is what we have today is that's it. There's no greater science out there. There's a scientific reason why a pane of glass in Copper Ridge Baptist Church all of a sudden created these miraculous crosses in the windows. But yet other panes of glass that are just like that do not have that same image. There is a reason, scientific reason, why the healing waters in Talakoti, Mexico can actually heal people, and a regular well of water does not heal somebody. There's a scientific reason why the Norwegian spiral did what it did, and it wasn't a failed missile test as our politicians and military personnel and scientists would lead you to believe. So it's a science that our scientists are not privy to, but there's a scientific reason why those things are going on. Now, we view them as miracles, but it's actually miraculous science is really what it amounts to. Now, so there is, in fact, evidence of hope if you search for the signs. So I'm aligning myself with what the teacher said. Those who search for signs will find them, and I'm putting it out there for you to consider that if you search for them, you will find the signs, you will see the miracles, and thus have evidence of hope. So that's my little soapbox of the day. Now, if you have a question or two about what we talk about, whether this is your first time ever listening to Search for Signs, or if you've listened to this channel quite a bit, you're always welcome to post a question as a comment. You can email me at searchforsigns@mail.com. The email is in the description of the video. And there's also an exorbitant amount of links that can give you a lot of background information about what we talk about, so you don't just hear about it from me. You can actually do your own research and look at this yourself. So hopefully it helps. Now, the question I have is... well, actually, let me go back to there's a couple of comments I want to talk about first. First one says, this person was commenting about what I had said in the last video about the image of Jesus in the clouds. So it says, unfortunately, there are so many versions of where this Jesus in the clouds picture came from. Literally everyone claiming their grandmother's son and mother took it. As interesting as it is, hard to trace its origins and authenticity as well. I agree with what you're saying because somebody can Photoshop something and that kind of thing. The image I took the image from was actually coming from an image that Benjamin Creme actually said was an authentic image of Jesus in the clouds. So that's the reason why when I look at images of crop patterns and stuff like this, I don't know if they're real or not anymore, because it's just there's so many people who have access to really good computer programs, Photoshop, that can do a lot of that stuff, and it's totally fake, right? But yet it looks totally real. So I know that those crop patterns exist. I know miracles in the clouds like this exist, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it's hard to tell whether they're real or not, But that's why I didn't just take any one of them. I actually took one that was used in the International magazine. So anyway, so thank you for that. Let's see. This person said Maitreya appeared to him in the mid-90s, and there's a reply. What was said? So yeah, I'd like to know more about that myself, Miguel. So if you're listening to this, perhaps you could elaborate on it. We could talk about this some more. That'd be great. Let's see. The next question says, I have some questions. You said, why are the masters are here, but didn't go into it. I guess you're referring to the introduction, so I apologize. And we'll talk about that. Perhaps I missed it, but why are the ascended masters here now? How many masters are there? And will that mean that we will transition into another dimension. Are UFOs here to help with that transition? Also, how do we know that this information is true? So let me answer the first question first, okay? You don't know if it's true or not. You have to just discover the truth for yourself. I always look at this as I'm just an ordinary person with extraordinary information, and I'm just presenting it to you for you to consider, okay? It might come as some surprise to most people that even though I've had experiences with Maitreya, I believe wholeheartedly that he is who I think he is, the one awaited by all the world's religions. I don't take a mystical view of him. I see him as a brother, as a teacher, and that's it. And the truth and the sanity of his solutions for our problems makes sense to me. And that's really what it amounts to. So, but when I present this information, I'm trying to present it just for you to consider, just for you to think about on your own. You do with it what you want. Okay? If you are left with a little bit more hope, that is great. It makes me happy that somebody can be more hopeful because of knowing this information perhaps they didn't know about before. But I would be even more ecstatic if somebody saw that, I don't really believe what you said about Maitreya or the masters or whatever, but I think that peace is a necessity and I'm going to do what I can to help accomplish that. I would be absolutely ecstatic. That would bring me so much fulfillment and joy in my life. But it's for each of us to kind of come up on that truth on our own, so anyway. How many masters are there? There's just a handful. I would say probably a dozen or so that are out in modern cities living, amongst the people, but yet nobody knows they're masters. Let's be very clear when I say this, is these masters know they're masters. Their consciousness is far beyond what our consciousness would be. Okay, and I'm going to give you an example in just a second, but I'm not saying that there are thousands of people who are ordinary people who all of a sudden become enlightened masters overnight. It doesn't work like that. So eventually we will all be masters, but it's going to take us time. And that's why the masters are here, to teach us how to live, to be more like them. But right now we're having to deal with the consciousness that we have. Now, if you were to see Maitreya in person right now, okay, he would look like an ordinary person. But he is the master of all the masters. His consciousness, his cosmic consciousness is far beyond what you and I would ever even think could even be possible. So we won't really know what it's like to be a master until we are a master, first of all. So even me trying to explain it doesn't do it much justice. But in my own very crude way, let's look at it like this. Maitreya, who's the master of all the masters, is living in London now and has been since July 19th, 1977, and has been speaking on TV to millions of people. Now, he doesn't come with any fanfare, just like when he slipped in unnoticed into the Asian community of London in July of 77, with no fanfare, no fuss, no muss, just slipped in unnoticed. He's on TV, practically totally unrecognized, for all intents and purposes, unrecognized as anything but an ordinary person. Now, he could be being interviewed by a journalist right at this moment in time, sitting in a chair, being very relaxed, at ease, at peace, perhaps given a little bit of truth, humor in what he's saying, But if we could climb into his head, he's feeling every person on the planet, what's going on in their life, the joy and the pain, the love, the fear, the anxiety. He's feeling all that right now within his heart. Not only that, he could be appearing to somebody as a familiar. He could be speaking to a master on this planet or another master. He's being overshadowed. There's consciousness of two great avatars from some other solar system that are working through him. The avatar of synthesis and the spirit of peace and equilibrium are overshadowing him in the same way that he overshadowed Jesus 2,000 years ago. So all this could be going on as he's being interviewed. He could be saving somebody from an accident. He could be doing a million other things. Inspiring this person to paint a painting, inspiring this person to bring about a teaching, putting a ring of light around the planet to keep some cosmic event from destroying all life on the planet at this time, counteracting the forces of dark. I mean, it's just, we don't know the consciousness of these masters and what they do. In fact, actually, Benjamin Creme put it like this. He said, in the Bible it says, out of the mouths of babes will speak the truth. And a lot of people misinterpret that, saying that an infant, a baby in a crib, will start spouting out truth, right, at the end times or whatever. What that is that's an esoteric symbol. The babes in Christ are those people who have taken the first 2 of the 5 initiations to become a master. So people like JFK, Martin Luther King, Einstein, Gandhi, Picasso are just some examples of historical figures who have taken the first 2 initiations toward becoming a master of 5. Okay? Those are the babes in Christ from the master's point of view. So he puts it like this. He goes, if those people are the babies, just the babies, that's how the masters view Martin Luther King as a baby. I mean, see how much influence and positive, force for good he was in the world, even now, even decades after he's dead, right? They consider him a baby. He goes, imagine what the big boys are like. So we will know what it's like when we see these masters. We see the Master Jesus speaking on TV. We see Maitreya speaking on TV. We see the Master who was the Madonna eventually, the Master who was Paul, the Master who was John. And we experience their love, their wisdom, their teaching firsthand, see how they interact, see how they love everyone unconditionally, how detached and relaxed they are, how funny they are. Their humor is a truth and a law in and of itself. I mean, it's just, and they never stop working, they never stop serving, they have no personal agenda, nothing. That's when we'll really know, we'll have a better sense of what a master really is. But there's only just a few of them living here with us now. But like I said, eventually they'll tell you, we're just potential them. So eventually we're just potential masters. Eventually every single one of us on this planet will be just like them and beyond them. I mean, Jesus himself said, greater things than this shall you do yourself, right? He wasn't just whistling Dixie, as they say. He was speaking a truth. There's a truth to that, what he said. What he was saying was, we will be a master like he is. So anyway, hopefully that helps. Now, why are they here? This is the other question. I don't want to forget this one. Oh, first of all, they're not transitioning. We're not transitioning into a new dimension. Let's get that straight. And the UFOs are not coming from a different dimension even. Our scientists postulate that there are 3 levels of physicality, solid, liquid, and gas, right? In the not-so-distant future, it will be common knowledge that there are 4 levels of physicality above gas called the etheric. It was technically proven already by Wilhelm Reich, who was a contemporary of Sigmund Freud. He called it the orgon. And you can look him up online, and he talks about the orgon and all that kind of stuff. But the masters would say the orgon is subdivided into 4 levels of etheric. So we're not moving into the etheric planes. It's just a level of physicality. We're moving from one age, the age of Pisces, into the age of Aquarius. The UFOs and the people and the occupants of those UFOs are coming from the higher planets of our solar system, mainly Mars, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn. The society and the lives that those people live, the humanity on those planets, is on the higher levels of physicality of the etheric. They're not living on a different dimension. They're living on a higher level of physicality. So when we see a UFO, it's because they lowered their vibration down low enough to where we can see it. When they disappear all of a sudden, looks like they go into a different dimension. They're just raising their vibration up high enough to where our physical eyes at this moment can't see it. So now, the most important question you said is, why are the masters here? The masters are here now because the structures that we have that were built on the past of Pisces are crumbling. They stood the test of time up to now, but they will not stand the test of time in the future because we're moving into a different time with different energies, different qualities that's going to impact the way that we relate and interrelate with one another. So the way that what the age of Pisces has done is it's given humanity this greater sense of individuality, idealism, for instance. But it's The dark side of it is that it's created a society that creates a lot of division. It's built economic structures, political structures that support the very, very few at the expense of the many, right? You can't deny that if you look at the world today and how it's structured with ultra-rich billionaires and people have absolutely zero, right, who are dying of hunger every day, right? The future energy, the energy from Aquarius, it won't allow that because it's just like a white car in a garage with yellow light can't be white, right? It have to be yellow, right? Well, the energies of Aquarius are synthesis, brotherhood, cooperation, justice, peace, oneness, the truth about oneness, the truth about the one humanity and so forth. Those are energies, these are qualities of the energies of Aquarius. So the structures that we have to build, the political, economic, social, educational structures, healthcare structures, even the artistic structures have to be built under a different way so that they work with the energies that are coming our way, more and more of those energies of Aquarius. If we don't build those structures, we will experience anarchy and chaos. So now, every single time humanity goes from one age to another, there's always been a teacher that's kind of shown us the way, and we've kind of developed under the light of that age, and then we move on to the next one and the next one and the next one. It's critical now because it's creating such the Piscean energy has created such a divided world, but it's also created a world where we can literally destroy ourselves in a moment's notice because we have the technology to do it. That's why the masters are coming back much earlier than they were expecting to have to come back. So they're coming back to teach us how to, but they're coming initially to help us bring about peace, to bring the structures that bring about that, to help end hunger initially. That will bring about justice, that will help solve the ecological problem. But in the future, as those structures are built, we'll maintain it. We'll build a little bit here, a little bit there, but there'll be basically a foundation of those structures supporting the energies of Aquarius. Then these masters will start to teach us how to live within the laws of life, how to live harmlessly within the law, how to be more like them, those kind of things. And that's for the coming age. And then the technology that will be developed, that humanity will develop under the inspiration of these masters, will far exceed even the most science fiction writers' minds of today. But the potential is infinite. It's just we have to do it together. It can't, you look at the way that some of the businessmen around the world are trying to colonize Mars already, right, for their own financial gain. That's never going to happen. You know what I'm saying? But that's all the past. In the future, we will travel to the stars together, not to colonize it, but to explore it together, that kind of thing, where everyone will have the advantage of being able to experience that type of travel and experience and so forth, but we have to do it together. You see what I'm saying? So it's a totally different time in which we're coming in. But I'll leave you with this. Maitreya said, with all the wonderful things that are going on, that will happen in the future, the greatest change will be in the hearts and minds of humanity. So we'll learn to live in peace. We'll learn to live within the law harmlessly amongst one another, how to live true to who we are and so forth. So hopefully that helps. Now, I want to read this real quick. I'm just going to read a portion of this because it kind of, the bottom part's kind of dated a little bit. But I want to read part of Benjamin Creme's master's article, A Need for Action. Okay? When you read these articles, it's always better for you to read it yourself than have me read it. You can find his books on Amazon. The link is in the description. It's entitled The Master Speaks. You can also go to the Share International website. The link is in the description. And read these master's articles yourself. But this master worked with Benjamin Creme for decades. And while he was working with Benjamin Creme, actually published some articles once a month in Share International magazine. And it really kind of gives you a better sense of the ideas of these masters. This master's name is not known at this moment in time, but eventually in the coming time, he will be one of the masters out, along with Maitreya, helping to teach and guide and humanity and so forth. But anyway, this is just a little bit of it. It says, many times before have I spoken of the need for action to realize men's plans and dreams for a better life for all. As Maitreya has said, nothing happens by itself. Man must act and implement his will. With this in mind, let us look to the problems which most demand attention and seek to throw some light on their solution. The major problem awaiting resolution is that of achieving just and lasting peace. Without peace, today there would be no future for the race. The nations even now are edging slowly toward this goal, but certain basic requirements must be met before real peace can be assured. Firstly, true peace demands on trust, which arises only when the law of justice is fulfilled. The great and widening gap between the lifestyles of the rich and poor nationally and between the nations is today the greatest block to the achievement of peace. Divergent ideologies play their divisive part, but this factor is diminishing in potency. More important, by far, is the ingrained complacency and greed of the developed world. Peace results from balance, whose absence guarantees conflict and war. The achievement of balance requires the recognition that all are interdependent peoples and nations, and that the needs of all can be met by just sharing. Until that realization dawns and is followed by action, we shall know an unstable world. While half the world goes hungry and millions yearly starve, true peace remains a dream. Events are moving fast. If the leaders grasp this present opportunity and, with wisdom, take the longer view and withhold their military hand, the world could see emerging the end of hostility and war, a just redistribution of resources, and a new and saner relationship between the nations. For this, Maitreya has worked long and hard, counseling the main protagonists in the various crises as they have arisen, seeking to endow them with his insight and breadth of view. Their gradual response to his endeavor allows him the sooner to come openly before the world. Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.